J. Cole allegations are absolutely horrifying. If this is true, J. Cole's career is over with. He needs to be arrested tonight. But if it's not true, somebody needs to be bankrupt. Somebody needs to be sent a lesson with a lawsuit because you don't put allegations like this on somebody for the sake of it. This entire drama goes back to 2018 when J. Cole dropped the KOD album. Now, the entire drama centers around the cover art for the KOD album. J. Cole also dropped the art book for the KOD album, right? Now, like the cover art and the artwork and, the art that was in the art book for the KOD album was really unique, and no other J. Cole album cover looks like this. And that's because it was done by a guy called Kamau Haroun. Him and J. Cole only worked on one project, and that was KOD, and that happened in 2018, and they haven't worked since. Even though they only worked briefly on one album, Kamau absolutely hates J. Cole's guts. He despises J. Cole. He hates everything J. Cole stands for. According to him, his words, not mine. Now, Kamau took to the timeline today to explain exactly why they only worked once and never worked again. He took to his Twitter timeline to celebrate getting a new job that no longer operates on commission but salary. He would write, "I got the job I've been talking about. Your boy ain't no longer a freelance artist. I don't gotta do these F-ass commissions anymore. F your album cover, ninja." Somebody says, "Wait till you clock in, fam." Kamau says, "I've been clocking in for these record labels in an evil industry every day of my life, ninja. I'll be okay." Kamau also says, "Freelancing felt like selling my soul, my passion, my gift, and turning it into slop. The hours weren't forgiven, the clients weren't nice, the pay was really good. Sure, when it hits, it's the most fulfilling thing on earth, but I can still make my own art without the pressure." So then somebody responded back and says, "Selling your time is like selling your soul. Trust me, both suck. So just enjoy the pros and cons. Pro of a wage job is knowing you're going to have bread, blah, blah, blah," right? So people were telling him, "Hey, listen, man, this job ain't, all that it's cracking out to be. You might regret this job." So one person says, "Now it's going to be a conceited director that doesn't understand boundaries or ethics. Don't say this to discourage you, but there will be challenges with every career." Now, Kamau responded back to that particular comment in a quote tweet because he wanted everybody to see. Kamau wrote, "Man, J. Cole tried to force me to draw child corn. I'd rather just have a mean boss for real." When he said this, the timeline erupted. You had Drake and Kendrick fans rush into the tweet to label these allegations true because they hate J. Cole. You had J. Cole fans comment labeling this dude as a disgruntled employee. And the first question they asked was, hold on, like, why are you just speaking about this? Like, if J. Cole asked you to do this, why didn't you speak up when it happened? He responded back by pointing out that he's been calling out.
Yeah, that's what I was also thinking. Why is he only mentioning it now, a long time after it supposedly happened? Why didn't he mention it immediately? Also, on J. Cole's part, why would he ask for such artwork to be drawn, knowing he's known, he's famous, and the backlash that will come with it?
J. Cole since 2019. So he worked on his album cover in 2018 of April. He called out J. Cole March of 2019. So in 2019, he would write, "And that ninja J. Cole asked me to draw little underage girls naked. He a effing weirdo." The age of how old the allegations are given some credibility, but it could just be somebody who worked with J. Cole in 2018. J. Cole fired him or never worked with him again. He got disgruntled, so he's making up lies. I mean, it could very well just be that. I wasn't in the room. But a lot of questions derive from this. Are you saying that J. Cole told you to draw child corn for the album cover? Or are you saying that J. Cole told you to draw child corn for his own personal use? Spoiler alert, Kamau exposed himself as a weirdo too in this thread. So he says, "When I did the KOD album cover in 2017-ish, he flew me out to California afterwards for booklet art. In his studio, him and his security had me in a corner with my sketchbook, pressing me to draw underage girls for a project I'd never heard." He says, "Of course I said no, but they were persistent." Why you saying but? What's the but about? At the time, he was my boss. What are you getting to? What are you getting to, bruh? I had no money for real. What are you about to tell us? He paid for my rides, food, hotel, for me and all the people who was helping him.
Yeah, for me personally, I don't care what he paid for my flights, my booking, my accommodation. If it goes against what I believe in, then I'm not doing it no matter what. So for him to ask him for so-called child so on to be drawn out for him, if you don't agree with it, don't fucking do it. Don't tell me about financially you needed the cash.
Put the project together, okay? If I wasn't in his good graces, I would have been ish out of. What are you, Kamaru? What are you saying, bruh? This man says, so I had to learn how to compromise with evil. I drew a bunch of girls taking nude selfies, but the way I angled the camera covered all the naughty parts. I didn't feel good about it, but this is evidence in the album booklet where one of the sketches actually made it in. So he's claiming that this is one of the sketches that he says was actually him drawing an underage, which I'll be real, looking at the picture right now, this kind of looks like a depiction of a really young girl. This looks like a depiction of a really young girl. This don't look like an adult from my perspective. So he's claiming that J. Cole is who told him to do this, okay? But it doesn't stop here. He would later accuse J. Cole of telling him to draw him more for personal reasons. But we'll get to that a little later. Just stay tuned. We'll get to the other allegations. It extends far beyond just album cover. J. Cole fans came to the comment section and said, dude, hold on, bro. You are a liar, right? J. Cole didn't instruct you to do anything. You had full creative control. You were the ones who did this because you are a sick man. Keep J. Cole out of it. And, the J. Cole fans were loud enough that this dude even got a community note. On the original tweet, the community note stated, this allegation is fake. User has said in the past that they had complete creative freedom over KOD Network. User also has the same CP art in their own art collection. So, bro, you are weird. Kamau, you are weird, Kamau. If you're claiming what was in that album was CP and you included it in your own art, that's weird, okay? So they even had the exact quote, and the exact quote was, I did all the creative direction for the KOD album, and he told me my work was only going to be used for booklet art, only to turn around and make merchandise illegally with my art behind my back and profit majority off of it while on tour. F him. Now we're starting to see what the motive might be for lying on J. Cole, if he's lying. The motive might be, he came in, he did some cheap labor, right? J. Cole paid him cheaply to do the album cover. He got paid for it. He thought he was about to come up off of the relationship. J. Cole didn't work with him again, but then J. Cole took his album and his artwork and began to make merch and profit from it a lot, and he didn't get a dime. So now he's upset at J. Cole.
No, but if you already paid for the artwork, what's the problem? You already paid for the images, he paid for the artwork. So for him to use it as he wishes to use it, that's his decision. Why didn't you increase your pricing for the artwork so that whatever he does with it afterwards, you've already benefited, you've already profited?
So he responded back and he says, it's misquoted. I did all the album artwork. Cole was the art director. The discrepancy came when he used art that was meant to be album art for merch instead to make extra profit. Here you can see I'm credited as illustrator while Cole is art director. J. Cole...
Yeah, when you did the artwork with him, you should have clarified with him that this artwork is only for the album. You didn't clarify, now you're having an issue. That was your mistake.
Fans will also point out that this dude has some outright blatant lies on his Twitter timeline about J. Cole. He would claim the 21st of August, 2025, that he had Lil Nas X and J. Cole in the studio wearing interconnected do-rags and forced them to record together. New track dropping soon. Which, bro, you've never had J. Cole and Lil Nas X in any studio like together. And also, why were you in the studio with J. Cole if you were claiming that J. Cole is this, right? And he would also follow this up by saying, J. Cole not safe in New York City. He better go back to California with that country-ish. He would also say, we stripped J. Cole naked and handcuffed him to a radiator on a cold tile floor. Okay. Then apparently turned the heat all the way up. No homo, though, he said. There's a 0% chance he kidnapped J. Cole. There's a 0% chance any of that is true. So people are pointing out, hey, man, how can y'all take this seriously? Yes, he did the artwork for J. Cole. Yes, he's the author of the art, and he could probably tell us what age he was imagining in his head. But how can y'all believe he's telling the truth about J. Cole when he's clearly lying about tying up and kidnapping J. Cole? When the fans began to press him some more, he began to double talk. So one fan says, question, how does someone even go about asking for CP? Like, do you just come out and say it? Or do they just beat around the bush like, so I want a girl who looks like Jennifer Aniston before 1987? Now, this is where his explanation to me is double talk and doesn't make sense completely. So he'll respond back and he will say, that's exactly how it was. He just kept implying the girl in the song is young like a teen. And then I would draw a woman and he would be like, yeah, but we can go younger, right? And just kept pressing it until he was basically straight up asking. Well, if he never told you a specific age, he just says, yo, draw me a young woman in her teens, that could have meant 18, 19. So if you drew a woman from your perspective who was 13, how can you now blame J. Cole and say, yo, J. Cole told me to draw CP? No, he said draw a young woman and kept saying younger. And you kept going younger, which, and I still don't know if that part of the story is true. I just don't see this from J. Cole, man. He will address the narrative of being a disgruntled employee because that's, to be honest, that's what it seems like, man. He would write, my initial rant was about him taking a sketchbook that had art in it and using all the work in it when I only agreed on some of it being used. In that sketchbook, I, as the CP art mentioned, I brought up both at the...
If you only agreed for some of it to be used, then why did you give him the whole book with the artwork? Why didn't you only give him what he paid for? Or what he supposedly paid for?
Same time, and they spun it to make it seem like it was about money. So the way it worked was I would pull up to the studio every day with a sketchbook, and he would make music and give me pointers, and I would sketch. They were all done in my personal sketchbook. When it was time to turn in the project, my sketchbook was collected by Felton Brown. Felton is Dreamville graphic designer. Felton took my sketchbook and scanned every page and stole artwork. I was mad about that, so I brought it up at the same time I brought up the CP incident. Since I brought up both, at once they exaggerated the money angle to make it seem like I was a disgruntled employee mad about money other than what it really was. I'll be real, this sounds like you were mad at money, man. This sounds like you're mad at money. I'm gonna give J. Cole some advice here. Cole, don't take this lightly. Don't take this lightly. Listen, if this is fake, if this is false, if this is not true, go to court and prove it. I don't care if you like, man, bro, this dude is worth nothing. I won't get $1 out this dude, bro. He's online celebrating getting a new 9 to 5. What can I sue him for? Sue him for your reputation. That's the problem with a lot of these artists and a lot of these dudes who are rich. They feel like suing the average person, suing the common person is beneath them because they can't really gain nothing. Sometimes your public reputation is enough. How people view you is enough reward to sue somebody. Dudes like this who come online and make... Now, again, I'm assuming these allegations are false. To make an allegation this serious, they're able to do it because they don't fear the repercussions. They don't fear that J. Cole will actually sue him. They don't fear that J. Cole will take time out of his busy day, file a lawsuit, and actually follow up with it. You got to send a message, bro. Because if you don't sue this dude, now the angle is going to be what? Well, if I'm lying, then why didn't J. Cole sue me? If I'm lying, then why haven't J. Cole sued me? I must be telling some truth, right? If J. Cole didn't sue me, right? Y'all got to start pressing the sue button faster, man. Because this dude, now, again, if this was some type of random dude on the internet with no type of connection to you, that's one thing. This is a dude who worked with you personally. This is a dude who is tied to you and connected to you. You have to sue him, and you have to make an example out of him if these allegations aren't true. Because if you don't sue, now we start to ask, why didn't J. Cole sue? Are these allegations true? But if you enjoyed this video and you want to watch another good one, click on this video right here to find out how Joe Rogan had to check this guest for lying on Cat Williams mid-interview. Click on this video right here to find out what I'm talking about. If you enjoy my content...
Yeah, I don't think J. Cole actually needs to go and sue. Maybe he can just make a public statement or on a public platform expressing his response. But for him to actually sue, I don't think he has to. And personally, for him, I don't think he even has the time to go and sue. As Flacco said, someone that won't financially benefit him. But as to what he does is up to him. He's got his reputation to uphold.